In Hebrews chapter 10, verse 24 and following, it says, let us consider how to stimulate one another to love and good deeds, not forsaking our own assembling together, but encouraging one another. What's the context? Church meetings. He says, let us consider how to stimulate one another to love and good deeds, not forsaking our own assembling together. So this is what he's talking about. So we can learn from this. What was true of the early church when they assembled? Well, he starts by saying, he's not writing to pastors here, he's writing to normal Christians, ordinary Christians. Before you come to church, you need to consider something. Now, to consider means to think about carefully, to give thought to. And what should you consider? How to do something. How to do what? How to stimulate the other people there to love and good deeds. How to encourage the other people there. So before you came to church, you were to think about how you're going to do this, how you would contribute to the meeting by stimulating other people to love and good deeds. Now, to stimulate means to excite to activity or to growth. The ESV says to stir up. Many churches have a coffee bar. You can go and get coffee, and there's stir sticks to stir in your cream and sugar. So I might ask, when you go to church, are you a stir stick? Are you to the church what that stir stick is to the coffee? Do you stir up love and good deeds? Is there an opportunity for you to stir up love and good deeds? So you see, when we format our church meetings, if we're going to do it the way is modeled in the New Testament, there should be some kind of a format that allows people to stir one another up to love and good deeds. It can't just be passive like watching a movie on television. He also says we'll consider how we should encourage one another, to stir up and to encourage. Well, who's doing this stimulating? Who's doing this encouraging? Well, the operative word there is us. Let us consider how we can do this to one another. He's not singling out pastors. Of course, pastors do a lot of that. But everybody is deputized to do that. So we see that the focus was not exclusively on leaders. It was about each member doing his part as led by the Spirit. This is because all the members of Christ's body bear responsibility to encourage one another. And so worship must be formatted in such a way as to allow ample opportunity for mutual one another encouragement. So he begins in Hebrews 10:24, says, let us consider how to do that. So for example, you might ask yourself, who is discouraged that you might encourage? Who needs to be prayed with? Who can you purpose to fellowship with? Who should you take an interest in? A new person, a quiet person, an introverted person? Who can you get to know better that you don't know well? Is there a testimony you could share with the whole congregation? Can you bring a new song to the church? What did God do in your life this past week that you could report? What did God show you this week in your time alone with Him? How could you use your gift of exhortation to exhort the church? Maybe you have a word of wisdom you could declare. Can your gift of discernment be helpfully used? Has God given you a word of knowledge? Scripture says if any man has gifts as teaching, let him teach. Do you have an encouraging word? See, you see this principle of participation, things you should think about before you ever leave home to head for church.